our what's called the critical path, meaning there's no wiggle room. It's critical that we get that activity done in that time, and it's critical that we start at that time. Otherwise, the entire project gets delayed. That's the meaning of the critical path. If these particular activities do not get done on time, then the entire project is delayed. Therefore, it's critical. Okay, let's look at activity H. Remember, the latest we can finish this project is week 18. So the latest we can finish activity H is week 18. Now we got a little wiggle room there. The earliest we could finish is week 7 if we just went straight through. But it doesn't have to be done until week 18. So there's a lot of slack. There's 11 weeks of slack in there. Takes 2 weeks, so the latest I could start it and still finish the project on time is week 16. Okay. Now then, the latest I have to get activity G started is week 12. Therefore, the latest I have to finish week E, and also activity D, I said week E, I meant activity E, is going to be 12. That's 12 above the 9, sorry. So therefore, the latest I can start activity E, because it takes 7 weeks, is 5. So you'll notice again with activity E, the latest I can finish and the earliest I can finish are the same. The latest I can start and the earliest I can start are the same. There's no wiggle room. So that is a critical activity. So let me recall that G was a critical activity. I'm going to draw a little, and recall that E now is a critical activity. Let's look at D. Activity D, the latest we can finish, recall, is week 12. It takes 3 weeks, so the latest I can start that is going to be week 9. Okay. Now then, let's look at activity F. The latest I can finish activity F is week 18, because this project has to be done by week 18, and F is one of those last activities. So this is an 18 here. Okay. Activity F takes 3 weeks, so the latest I can start activity F is week 15. Okay, I'm not staying in my brackets. Sorry about that. So now let's look at activity C. Activity C precedes activities F, E, and H. And let's look. Activity C's got to be done by what point in time? I'm going to pause for a few seconds. If you want to pause the video, see if you can figure that out. Okay, and then when I come back in a few seconds, I'll tell you the answer. Okay, activity C has to be completed by week 5. Not because of activity H, not because of activity F, but because of activity E. Okay, so let's look at activity H. The latest I can start activity H is week 16. So if that was the only thing C preceded, then we can wait till week 16 to finish activity C. Activity F, it doesn't have to be started until week 15. So if all I was preceding was activity F, then I wouldn't have to finish activity C until week 15. But here's the kicker. Activity E, which activity C precedes, activity E must be completed or by week 12, and it must be started by week 5. So I've got to have activity C done by week 5. And therefore, the latest I can start it is week 3. Again, you notice no difference between the earliest and the latest start times, no difference between the earliest and the latest finish times, and therefore activity C is on my critical path. Okay. Let's look at activity B, and let's just finish this project, or finish this out. Activity B precedes both D and F. Okay? So in order to be ready for activity F, we've got to be done by week 15. But in order to be ready for activity D, we've got to be done by week 9. So let's look at the latest I can finish activity B is week 9. It's not enough to be ready for F. I've got to also be ready for activity D. Okay? Therefore, the latest I can get started is going to be week 6. Now, got one activity left here. I bet you can figure this out. But the earliest I can, let's see, finish activity A is what? Pause the video, see if you know the answer. Okay, the earliest I can finish activity A is week 3 because I've got to be ready for for activity C. Okay? If I waited till week 6, activity B would be okay. But activity C would be behind. So therefore, the earliest I can get started is right now if I want to get this done in 18 weeks. Now, you'll notice that activity A is on the critical path. Okay? The critical path is A, C, E, G. Now, if we add up the duration of those activities on the critical path, 3 plus 2 is 5, plus 7 is 12, plus 6 is 18. You get the duration of the project. Okay? If we wanted to, we could look at every single possible path on this chart, and you'd see there's a path A, B, D, G. There's another path, A, B, F. There's another path, A, C, F, A, C, E, G, and A, C, H. A path is just any particular way to get from the start to the finish. And we could have started by looking at every single path, and then we add up the duration of the activities on each of those paths, and we would find that ACEG is the longest path. Again, ACEG is 3 plus 2 plus 7 plus 6, and that's 18. Now, any other path is going to be shorter than that, so just go with ABDG because it's easy to look at real quick. 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 6 is 15, not the critical path. There's a longer path. Okay? And if you think about it, this should make sense. This should be intuitive because here we have 4 activities back to back, meaning I can't start one until I complete the next. Okay? And this is the longest set of activities that must be performed back to back, and therefore that's going to determine the length of the entire project. Okay, now, so we know what a critical path is. What do you do with these situations where the activity has a difference between the earliest start and the latest start? Well, let's take activity H here, for example. And the latest I have to finish activity H is week 18. The latest I have to start it is week 16. The latest, or rather the earliest I can finish is week 7. So there's what we call slack of 11 weeks there. There's all kinds of wiggle room. Some of these other ones have a little less slack. If you look at activity B, for example, it has 3 weeks of slack. So I don't have to start it until week 6, but I have to start it by week 3. So I could start it as early as week 3, but I don't have to until week 6. So there's a little bit of wiggle room there. Okay? That's called slack. That's the end of this one.